addresses at the top. We have 2 of them because 1 is clearly not enough. So either of those bit.ly links is going to take you to this slide deck. And make sure that you pay attention to the capitals. So maybe the first one, WCC Champs, is the easiest because WCC is capital and the rest is lowercase, because that's the biggest mistake, just if you don't get to the link you want. As with every training I've ever done, I'm relying on all of you to let me know if something is not happening for you. You lose the ability to hear me, you know. If I misspeak or I skip something, please call it out to me. And, you know, I always say I'm the #1 trier. I click around, I'm the #1 learner mode all the time. And I have something to learn from every single one of you. And I'm in learning mode with you right now. Tech is not, ed tech, it's not a linear process. There are multiple ways to accomplish tasks. So I'm going to show what I think is the most straightforward way, but you might know of another. So please do type in comments in the chat. We will have time, you know, in the breakout rooms to answer questions that might be more detailed or personal for you. So you might want to jot those down rather than putting them in the chat. Okay, let's see. So I see there are some things in chat, and I'm going to rely on my co-host to take a look and see what that is. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. All right, so it's 1:33. So to honor our time, I see we have 89 folks, and I know that there are more that signed up, and there might be more in the next few minutes. So I'll just go over the way we're going to roll. Let me make sure. Okay, there we go. So the first 45 minutes, as I mentioned, it's going to be a presentation with demonstration. So I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to have a slide deck that breaks down what you're looking at. And then I'm going to jump actually into the calendar itself, where things are not as easy to spot. And that way, so you see it straightforward, and then you see it in that more complicated live view. Please do take notes and write down, like I said, the questions, most of which you can get answered during the main session. And Perry and Vin will let me know if there's something that I need to address immediately, or we will just answer those questions in the breakout rooms. The second 45 minutes is going to be practice and relying on your friends for help. I will be popping in, as well as the co-host, to answer any specific questions. And finally, I want to go over the agreements. Embrace grace. I don't know about you, but holding myself with a lot of empathy, and all of my colleagues, everyone in our community, with grace and with patience is what's keeping me with my head lifted. And with a smile on my face and that enthusiasm that I have. So we all have grace for each other in this space, and welcoming help from everyone. And I do know that every single one of you knows more than you think. And I'm hoping that at the end of today that you'll walk away with at least one new thing that you've learned. And I'm pretty sure that you will. Just on a personal note, I would like to thank all of you for the work that you've done in supporting the teachers that you work with. If you're a teacher, supporting the students, the families, all of us, we are what support the community right now. And just take a moment to thank yourself, maybe close your eyes as you're going into this next hour and a half of personal professional learning. Just take a moment to acknowledge the hard work that you do for everyone around you. And then now just come back to that space of this is time for you. Our facilitators today, if you were in basic last week, you were with Laurie, and she and I are going to be switching off. this week. If you haven't met me before, my name is Darcy. This is my 16th year in the district. I focus on elementary ed tech teacher support. Let's see, I'm a fitness enthusiast. Basically anything I can do outside is what I do for fun. And I practice lots of yoga. Today I've got Perry and Vin, and I think I even saw David. They are our IT, it says superstars on here. I can't even speak to how essential they are in keeping everything running for our networking and IT services in the district. So I'm so happy and thankful to have them here. This slide in the slide deck is eventually, it's going to be the master table of contents. So for example, this icon is for Gmail. And if you wanted to access the slides from last week's session, you would click on that and it would take you to, or it should have taken you to that section. Oh, I think it's because I'm in presenter mode or something. Anyway, this icon is for calendar. And that, well, oh, it did. That one worked. It took me to the right place. See, there's always things to fix. It took me to the outline for today's session. So today's session is calendar basic. And I want you to notice, so this is a table of contents. Everything is in blue and it is underlined. And that's because it's a link to that exact slide where you will find me covering that topic. So yes, of course, if you feel like you want to skip ahead, or maybe I'm on something, but you want to go back to what I just showed, you can use this to get back to that space. This is also a nice place to come back to when you're in your breakout rooms for a kind of a checklist of what you should practice, because I do recommend that during that 45 minutes, you go through every item on the list, practice with at least one partner accomplishing every single task. All right, so for our Google Basics, and these icons on this list are going to be standard in pretty much in every single Google tool. So this 3x3 square, we call it the waffle. That is your navigator to the Google suite of tools. The kebab or the hamburger, because we all love food, those are usually your options menus. And you'll see in calendar, they do different things depending on the tool that you're in. The question mark with the circle, you can find help articles on pretty much any topic when you click on that icon. And then in all of the Google tools, I call it the snowflake. It can be called a gear, whatever that icon reminds you of, that is your settings icon. Okay, I need to move, I'm gonna try to move this toolbar. Maybe I'll move it to the top. Okay, so whoops. First, just a really quick tour. And I know it's a pretty small image. I did the best I could. So you'll notice the coloring that I use. Any box or anything that is outlined in red, that is either something you need to click to perform an action, or it is something that I'm going to highlight and then explain with my little search box. So I'll start with the top right. So remember the magnifying, there's a magnifying glass, and you might have seen that in Gmail. Again, that's one of those basic Google icons that lets you know that you can search. The question mark, that's where you'll find your help articles. Then you have the calendar settings, you have that snowflake. And then there's a little icon, a little rectangle that allows you to toggle between calendar view of day, month, or year. So when you click on that, you can show, and I think it's week too. You can decide how you want to view your calendar. And again, we've got our little waffle for the Google Apps. I'm going to talk about tasks a little later, but I just want to point out that on the far right, there is a little, it's a little blue box with a pencil, and that's for tasks. We'll talk about that later. At the far left of your screen, you've got that little hamburger icon. In calendar, all that does is collapse a side menu. That's all it does. It just expands the screen, so all you see is your schedule, and that's it. The little toggle arrows right and left, that allow you to navigate from month to month. The create button is the most important button. on the entire menu, on the entire screen. And then we will be talking a little bit about the different calendars that you might have accessible in your account. So that's the basic overview. And again, you're going to see me refer back to these as we get into the different skills. So the first skill is just creating an event. And yeah, it starts with the create on the far left with the plus sign. In Google, plus sign is typically making or creating something. As soon as you click create, a pop-up box is going to appear. And the first thing I recommend you do is you add a title. And try to make it a little memorable or specific, because remember, in calendar, you can search. So I've done a new calendar event, and I did not accurately put in the date when it was going to happen, and then it didn't appear on my calendar. When I name it something specific and I hit search, I'll find it, and then I can make that correction. The third step that I'm going to recommend, and it's for almost all of the skills going forward we're going to do, is that you can click more options. More options is for everything aside that you would want to accomplish aside from changing the date and the time, pretty much. So most of the time you'll see that I will click more options. Okay, so let's see. I think I'm going to cover how to adjust the time on an event, and then I'm going to hop into the calendar. So without clicking more options, you can adjust the time after you've added your title, and you'll see event is highlighted because there are some other options there. You can click on where you see the date, and then a little calendar will pop up, and you can select your date, and you can also select the time. Now, there's also another box here. If it's an all-day event, then you can select that box, and it'll take away this time field, and it'll make a special mark highlighted on your calendar because it's going to be occurring all day long. Now, the other thing that you can do with time is decide whether or not the event is going to appear multiple times. So does not repeat is the default under the time specs. To change that, you just click on the words, and then a drop-down menu will come up, and you can select from their options, or you can create a custom option. I'm going to stop there because I think that was a lot. So now I'm going to hop into calendar.
Darcy, real quick.
Yes.
Just somebody was wondering about attendance. I don't know what you're doing for that.
We are using Zoom reports for attendance. For paraprofessionals, Sonia Neely Johnson said that I believe they were sending something out for that.
Okay.
But regardless of whether they send something or not, the Zoom report will tell me everybody who is in attendance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want anyone concerned about that at all. All right, so I'm in my calendar. And remember where I said create? There's so many things on this screen. And actually, I think I can make it slightly, I'm going to zoom it just a little bit. There we go. All right, so there is create on the left. I'm going to press that button. Whoops, let me do it again. So I'm going to add a title, and I'm going to call this one just practice event, name it. Now, as I said, I can click for more options, but just for the sake of showing you the basic changes that I can make, I'm going to click and I'm going to change this event. So I'm clicking on Monday, February 1st, and I'm going to change it to, let's say, Friday the 5th. I'm going to change the time. And I can also just type in a time too. So I can just type, because 10:05 is not one of the options that they're giving me. So I can change that time and specify exactly. Usually it'll be 1 hour increments, but you can see I've got some options here. I'll make it a 2-hour meeting. Here's my option for making it all day, if that is indeed what's going to happen. So you'll notice if I click all day, it goes away. Now, if it's all day, maybe this is a multi-day event, it gives me the option to also specify, do I need to change this to a 2-day or a 3-day event? Now here's that box for does not repeat. I'm going to click on the drop down arrow. And you'll see, so sometimes, I have an event that happens every single week. So this is an event on Friday. If I want to make it a recurring event every Friday, then I would click on that. It will automatically generate that, that pattern on my calendar. Most important is to click save at the end. If you just click the X, not going to happen. So let me click save. And you'll see it says practice, and it is happening every single Friday. If I want to change it, let me click on practice. I click the pencil to edit. And, oh, there, I'm going to turn that off, does not repeat. And I can click save. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the slide deck in a moment, but I want to just pause for any questions. No? Okay, yes.
Darcy.
Yes.
So I, just because we had a high number of participants, I disabled people from unmuting. So if you wanted to direct people to type into the chat, or people can raise their hand.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks, David. All right, so yes, please do go ahead and type your questions. Let's see, yeah. I just want to make sure participants can chat. So please do type questions into the chat, or again, you can drop them in the breakout rooms and we'll do our best to answer. Okay, so let me go back. So we talked about adjusting the time. Okay, adding a notification. So notifications are your alarm clocks. And yes, I put the panic on there because I need many notifications because I do. I love the notifications because I'll get a little ding on my computer screen, and you can specify, if you want one or if you want two, if you're going to get an email. So these are wonderful to add if you're the kind of person that has multiple things on their schedule and you just want to make sure that you don't miss it. Let's see if I want to go. Yep. So I will go ahead and show that as well. And again, that's one of the basic options that you have when you're in your calendar. So let me go back to my practice. And you'll see here, it says notification, and there's a little alarm bell. And the option is to also to change it to email. And you can change the number of minutes, or you can get reminders by the hour, by the day, by the week. Now, if you don't want any notifications at all, you can just click the X and it will go away. Then you'll have no notifications. And you can add as many as you like. Sometimes I like them on a daily basis. So I remember, the day before, it reminds me what's coming up on my schedule for the next day. And then I like the day of notifications as well. Okay, so going back, we are getting into probably the skill that you use mostly in Calendar at this point, adding a video call to your event. So if you are creating a video conference event, the option that you will see is Google Meet. And that's because Meet is Google's tool. When you click on it, that's all you have to do, is you click on that button, it automatically generates the link that is going to be shared with your participants. You don't need to do anything else. You yourself, you just click on that link and it opens up. That's how easy it is. Now, if you've been invited to someone else's Google Meet and they didn't send you an invite in Calendar, maybe they just emailed it to you or something, then you would have to copy and paste that link and put it in the notes section of your event. Now I'm going to go on because I have several slides on adding video conference calls, and I want to cover them all. And then I'm going to go back into Calendar. So I know many folks are not using Meet. So, creating your own in Meet might not be the most helpful. Most of you are probably using Zoom. So you have a couple options. If you're creating this event yourself, just go straight into Zoom. Go into that event that you've made, your meeting, because when you're in the meeting page, you're creating a new meeting, and it gives you an option to go ahead and add that to your Google Calendar. So it connects Zoom with Google Calendar and it creates an event, and the Zoom link will be in there. Again, if you've been invited to someone else's Zoom, and they just did that by email, they didn't do it via calendar, or you're copying something, you are copying a Zoom link from a web page, you have to manually copy and paste that and add it to the notes section using the little link icon. So the next slide shows you how to do that. This is the little link icon. You just click on that, and then it's gonna give you a field that then you paste. And again, there's several ways to copy and paste. You can right click on your trackpad, like I'll right click right now. Actually, I think it's because I'm in presentation mode, it's not showing, but if you right click, whoops, then it will bring up this option and you can copy, or you can press Control C after you've highlighted the text and press Control V to paste. And that's something, again, perfect to practice in your breakout room. You can add any other links to an event by using this same method, and I'll be talking about that later. So now I'm going to jump out, and I'm going to go back into Calendar. All right, so to add a video conference, if I wanted to add that Google Meet conference, I would click here. Automatically, see there's the Meet code right there, and that is what would be shared with all of my participants. Simple as that. If I wanted to add a pre-existing Meet or Zoom link, I would click on this little link icon here, and then it gives me an option to put text to display, and then I would put in not my address or my work address, I would put in the link for Zoom or for Meet. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back. Okay, so we're on adding attachments. My wonderful co-hosts, are there any questions that I need to address?
Yes, there is one question from Cheryl. She says, I get items on my calendar from people that don't affect me. How can I keep those items from appearing on my calendar?
Yay. Okay, that is actually a topic that that I can embed a little later on, because I'm going to talk about tasks and reminders. And I think it's possible that you have some other calendars showing. So thank you. I will remind me then if I don't address it, but I think I've got it. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. That's a great question. Okay, so the next is to add an attachment to an event. So I just showed you how to add a link. It could be a Zoom link, it could be a Meet link, it could be a link to a document or a file in your Google Drive. Attachments are similar. An attachment could be anything. If you use Microsoft products and you've got them, the files stored on your device, you could add docs, you could add PDFs, you can add pictures. Anything that is less than 25 megabytes on your computer hard drive, you can add as an attachment to an event. So for example, if I'm having a meeting with someone and I know that I might want to reference some pictures or a website or something that I've made in Google Drive, I would attach that to that calendar event. That actually helps me stay organized. I don't want to be searching around for those resources or references when I'm in a meeting with someone. So anything that I'd want to share or keep in mind linked to that event, I can add it to the notes section in an attachment. So the first step is that you would click on the paperclip icon, and it's really close to that link one. In fact, they look really similar. The link is horizontal, the paperclip is vertical. They look the same. Without my glasses, they kind of look the same. And then it's gonna have a pop-up box that asks you to select the source for that file. So in that case, you would want to select if it's living in your Google Drive, or if it's living on your computer. If it's living on your computer, then you're going to click upload. And then for the second step, then you're going to have, you're going to see the little thumbnails of the files, and you just click on it and you press select, and then you're done. It will add it. So now let's see what that looks like in Calendar. Okay, so here's my horizontal link that I showed you before. Here is the paperclip. Got things zoomed enough on my screen that without my glasses, I can tell the difference. And here it is. So select a file. So let's see what it looks like when I click on my drive. And right now it's actually pulling up the things on my drive that I've most recently opened. And that's really helpful. And I can just click on my drive as well. You'll notice there's a search bar here. If there's a specific title that I'm looking for, then I could type in that title and then it will help me search. So I'm going to go back to recent just really quick because it's ready for me to select something, because you'll see these thumbnails. I'm going to click on it and you'll notice the word select highlighted in blue. So I would click select and you'll notice it's attached it right there. Okay, I can keep on attaching things. So I'm going to add another attachment. This time I want to upload something. So I can either drag files from my yellow file folder, or I can select files from my device. Like this video, I would love to be able to upload. However, it's slightly over 25 megabytes. So it's when I hover over it, it's telling me the size. I won't be able to select that. Maybe I want to talk about high frequency words with my teachers. So I'm going to go ahead and open that file and click upload. And there we go. So now any guests that I happen to invite to this meeting, they would see both of those resources attached. I can also add any other text here or notes that I'd want to either keep in mind for myself or also share with other participants. So I'm going to go ahead again, every change I make, click save. If you just click the X, you've lost it. Okay, any questions about adding attachments? Nope. Okay.
Darcy?
Yes.
Yeah, there was just one question that came in. Can attachments be selected that are over 25 megabytes if saved in Drive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Google Drive, because it's drawing from your cloud, it can be larger than 25 megabyte. It's basically attaching a link. Now that I think about that, I'm pretty sure that's the answer. I'm going to double check on that, but I believe that's the answer. If anybody knows for sure, I'm like 99% certain. If I would say anything like, say I have a 100 megabyte video or something, if worse came to worse, I could click on that file and get the link and just pop that link in there, because there's no size attached to a link. And then when the user on the user end or on the other person's end, when they click that link, it's just going to access that file. It's in the cloud. So there should not be a problem with size limitations as long as you're using that link to that file in Google Drive. That's a really good question. Okay, so inviting others to an event, which is what I typically do most of the time. Google is so fantastic about this. On the right, where it says add guests, so that's on the right of your options for that event. If you are, adding a guest who is an employee in our district, all you have to do is start typing their name, and you'll see a list of people with that name coming up, and you can select that person, or you can add their email address if you know what that is. When you are done adding the guests, a little pop-up box will come up asking you if you want to send them an invitation. All you have to do is click send. If you do not click that box, they are not going to get that invitation. So just by adding the guest, that's not enough. You have to add the guest and then take the second step of pressing send. Let's see, I think that's the only thing. Oh, okay. I did know there was a second slide to this. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but sometimes if you don't have the opportunity to coordinate a meeting time with the other guests, so say you only have 1 or 2 other guests and finding a common time that you have open is not easy, you can select find a time. And if that person has made their calendar public to the district, then you will be able to see what slots they might have open so that you can suggest a time. And that's a really cool feature. So let's see what that looks like once we are in calendar. Let's go back to my practice event. And again, the pencil is for editing. Now, here's the add guests feature, and you can see there are some people that I've recently been in contact with, but let's say I want Lori Roberts, and you can see that there are other Lauries in the district. So as soon as you start typing that person's name, there it's going to start populating the people with that name in the district. I'll go ahead and add Laurie. Now, there are some suggested times right there. That is super cool. These are the times on February 5th that Laurie has, that Laurie and I both have free. So that's super cool. That's one way to find a time. The other is by clicking find a time, and then it would show, I have to scroll down a bit. It would show, yeah, Laurie's schedule is in blue and my schedule is in purple. So I can also see the times that way. Probably using suggested times is a little easier. I'll go ahead and use one of those suggested times. And then I need to click save. In this case, I'm going to press don't send because this is a practice event and I don't want Laurie to to get an invite. There we go. So now let's go back and talk about reminders and tasks. And I think, yeah, we're right on time, trying to not rush through things. There we go, wrong button. Here we go. So reminders, they're actually pretty helpful. They can be scheduled to repeat, but literally it's just like giving yourself a banner of something that you want to catch your eye. You cannot add any details about it, no to-do list or nothing. The reminder is today I need to call my boss, you know, something like that. Contact so-and-so, do X. It will create a banner on your little calendar for that day. And you know that way you can get a little alert for it. Tasks are different. Tasks allow you to have a whole list of things to be done, and the tasks carry over until you mark that as complete. So here is, well, first of all, and this is where I'm going to get into you know, the question that we had, I believe, from Cheryl about seeing other people's events. We're going to look on your left sidebar to see what calendars you have showing. Because in order to create reminders and tasks, you have to enable them on the left calendar sidebar. And then you'll see those options come up. And you'll see, so there will be, once you enable them, then you'll see a little reminder box show up in addition to your events and out of office. And then if you enable tasks, then that will show up. And that's where you can have your little checklists of things to do. So let's take a look at that in calendar. And I'm glad we still have 10 minutes of time. I only have one other topic really to go over. And this one takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to get out of this practice event. I'm just going to go ahead and discard that whole thing. Okay, so here I am on the left sidebar. Remember that create button is there. Then I have a little thumbnail of the month. I'm going to scroll down to where it says my calendars. Before I was planning for this PD, I probably had 20 calendars on there because every classroom, Google Classroom that I'm a part of was on the side. And that's the thing, if you're a part of other people's Google Classrooms and you have that box checked, every time that person creates an event, it's going to show up on your calendar. So if you have strange events that you did not create on your calendar and you don't know where they're coming from, I want you to check and see how many calendars you have. Now, if you don't want to see, like if you have a Google Classroom and it's checked and you don't want to see, like my new practice, that's a Google Classroom. I don't need to see the calendar events from that. All you do is deselect it. That doesn't mean I'm not a part of the class anymore. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get email messages about it. That just means the events are not going to be shown on this calendar. Okay, now back to the task that I was showing you. What I want to do is enable tasks and reminders. Notice I just deselected that. When I click on create, I have task, but I don't have reminders. Okay. However, if I do create a task, it's not going to show up here. It shows up on a list on the side. Remember, I showed you that in the overview because tasks also live in your Gmail. So I'm going to select tasks. I'm going to select reminders. And now when I click create, you'll notice I have a reminder option. So here's my reminder. I need to call Laurie and I'm going to specify when I'm going to do that. And I have the options to do it like every single day. Like if you're working with a student or a family and you want to check in with that family every single week. So you can specify when that reminder is going to repeat. So let's just say every weekday, Monday through Friday, and I'm going to click save. And when did I put that in there? Oh, it is there. There we go. So I have a little, oh, that's just because I have a lot of lists. You'll see that there's a little finger, the little reminder, it says call Lori every single day. I'm going to quickly delete that. Or you can mark it as done. I'm going to delete this and all the following reminders. There we go. So now they're off. So now, actually I should have, let me go ahead and delete that one too. Okay, so now I'm going to create a task. So here, my task is going to be, prepare for Google Champs. And, I can select whether it's going to be, it's going to be an all-day task for me on Monday, February 1st. And you notice already I got a green box there with that banner at the top. Now, any details that I need to add, the steps that I need in my preparation, then I'm going to go ahead and add those steps. So prep slide deck, make survey. Let's just stick with that. And I want to show you where it goes. So by default, I have a list of tasks. And again, I said this lives in your Gmail and this lives here. I'm going to click save. Now I have a calendar reminder of that here. I can also find all of my tasks by clicking on the right. And this is going to pull the tasks from my email. And it's going to pull, you'll see there's a little calendar icon because this task came from my calendar. This task came from my Gmail. All right, that's as complicated. Yes.
There's a hand raiser by Ruth Cashmere.
Mm-hmm.
What do I unmute her so you can?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know how that works. Okay. Go ahead,
I can,
Ruth.
hi, how are you? Thank
Hi,
you.
Ruth. Good.
I just need to go back to the basic. How did you get into the calendar? Was it when you did the dots on Google? Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay, so there are a few ways to get to calendar. So I'm going to open up a new tab.
And thank you.
You'll see that there are, number one, there's a colorful waffle here in apps. And that will take me like this, that way I don't think is the most expedient way because I've got a ton of apps, but hypothetically it's in here. I can also click, let me go back. The waffle is where you find all of your apps. So look for the white waffle on the right next to your account and you can click, you'll find calendar.
Terrific, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Darcy,
Yes.
we have a number of people who would like you to do another example of a meeting with a Zoom link.
A meeting with a Zoom link. Okay. Now, I'd like someone to specify, is this a link that is pre-existing because someone shared a Zoom link with them, say via email, or they put it in their classroom notes? Or is this creating a Zoom link and then adding it to your calendar?
I think it's more or less just creating a new meeting.
Creating a new meeting. Okay. It's that's kind of a bird walk. But I will go ahead and let's see if I can do that. Let me close this out. So let me go to Clever because that's how I access. And then I'm going to go to my Zoom teacher login. And I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And automatically my default is on meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and click schedule a meeting. So I've got my meeting. I'm just going to say it's today at 3 p.m. just for the sake of just showing this. So it's going to automatically generate my ID and do all of that. I'm going to click save. Okay. So here's the option underneath the time to click on Google Calendar. I don't have to do anything else. I just created the meeting. I'm going to press add to Google Calendar. Now it's going to ask me for permission to sync with my Google account, right? So I'm going to select my district account. And yes, I do trust Zoom. I have to trust Zoom. I don't have much choice. And you notice it took me right to my calendar. It opened up one of those meeting option, one of those event creation sites. So I'm going to change this to, Zoom. I'm going to put Zoom practice calendar meeting. Now, if I add my guests, whoever my guests are, say I'm adding Laurie. If I add my guests, whoever I add, they're going to have access to that link. And let me just go ahead and take her off though for now. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So it's January 15th. So here we go, 3 p.m. Zoom practice. That is what you and your participants will see. They click that link and it will open a Zoom meeting for them. Pretty easy. If you just remember, if you are creating your own Zoom video conference meeting, start in Zoom. Don't start in Calendar.
We have a question in the chat about paraprofessionals apparently don't have access to Zoom to create a Zoom meeting. I don't understand that, but
David, are you here to answer that question? I don't know if that is the case. I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was not aware that that was not an option. I'm writing it down so I can find out and get back to you.
Yeah, some people are saying they do have access.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't like giving straight up answers, yes or no, because there are anomalies, but I was under the impression that paraprofessionals were able to create events.
Here's a good question too, which I don't think I even know the answer. If you accidentally delete a calendar event, can you get it back?
No,
Yeah,
Nope.
so.
no. Unfortunately, I wish there was an undo button, but there is not. If you click on the trash can, it's done. And I've done that plenty of times, but sometimes I didn't actually delete an event. I put it on the wrong day and it just wasn't there. So that's why actually the last thing that I need to show you, and we're not too far off time, it's searching your calendar. And this is super, super helpful. You just find the magnifying glass at the top of the screen. Then you enter your search term, and the search term could be a person. It could just be, you know, a phrase or a word, and you can actually filter down if you want to get really specific. You could even do it by location. You could put in a date range, and then you press search. So let me go back into calendar, and then I'm going to click that magnifying glass. And here, like if I wanted to put in, let's see, let's just put in Tracy Logan. So it's going to put all of the calendar events that I've got, and the ones that are shaded, it's because they've already happened. The ones in bold have not happened. Those are all of the events that have her in the guest list. So that's really helpful. That's why I say titling your event. Keep in mind, title it in a way that you would want to perhaps search for it later if the need arises. Okay.
Another
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
So Karen Ward asked, how can an aide be made a host or co-host?
So that is at the discretion of whoever is the host of a meeting. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen for the moment. And let's see. Wait, why is it telling me? I thought I was still sharing. Okay, there we go. Stop share. Okay, freaked out for a second. Okay. So that is at the discretion of whoever it is that's starting the meeting. So for example, at the start of this meeting, I was not the host. Someone else is the host. They made me the host. I was a co-host. They made me the host. And then I switched back and forth. So that's a conversation you just need to have with whoever is hosting the meeting.
She has a follow-up question. Can you pre-assign the aide as a co-host or host?
Yes, and that's a Zoom question, and I'd love to go a bit more into Zoom, but really the focus of this is on Google Calendar, so I don't want to divert too much into Zoom. However, in breakout rooms, if you have some questions, I might be able to answer them then, but I really want to stay focused on the topic of Google Calendar.
Another question. Any chance you will be offering a Zoom class in the future?
Right now, we have Zoom tutorials and a wonderful Zoom handbook that is on our district EdTech page. And those, and let's see, I believe they're in the paraprofessional EdTech classroom, and they are in just the typical EdTech classroom. Please email me if you are not a member of either of those classrooms, and I can make sure that you have the links because the videos and the handbooks are very in-depth. Yeah, and Kelly put in, there's also paraprofessional office hours. We also have